Guys and girls, welcome to episode 84 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. And if you enjoy the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or leave us a nice review on iTunes. We'd really, really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone that's joining us live here today. Hello to you all. It's a pleasure to have you joining us in the discussion each week. There's also a viewing event going on right now in AltSpace. So if you're watching this in VR, then hello to all of you lovely VR people. So this week, behind the scenes, we've spent a bit of time tweaking stuff. So if you notice any improvements in the show in terms of the video and the audio, let us know in the chat that you like the improvements or you prefer the old method. Either way, let us know. We'd appreciate the feedback. Also, if you have any questions or comments during the show, put them in the chat and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can. Now it's time for me to introduce you to the team and their new secret agent code names. First up, he's back with us and always on Cloud 9, here to break apart and brighten up your day. If you've missed him, say howdy to Cloudy. It's the Cloudy guy. How you doing, man? You all right?
Cloudy guy? Is that my code name? Like, I was at least hoping for something cool, but yeah. Okay.
You haven't heard the other ones yet, dude.
Yeah. This is what you call a secret agent name. This sounds more like a hippie name, like the Cloudy
It's going
guy.
downhill from here, boys. It's going downhill from here. No, I'm all right. You know, I haven't been able to do a lot this week, except for recovering from my trip. But yeah, it's been a blast. You know, I've never been to Africa, so it's a completely different culture that I got to experience over there. I'll talk about it later a little bit more, but yeah, I had a great time.
Good. It's good to have you back.
Guys. Welcome back, Rowdy. We've missed you.
Obviously missed
virtual
you too,
hug.
dude.
Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
nice.
I totally feel this.
You can feel the love in the chat.
That's not for anybody else. If you abuse that virtual hug and you take it, that was for Rowdy. That was for only Rowdy.
So next up, he's a pro tea connoisseur. He loves an Earl Grey in the morning, and he can actually read your fortune through the tea leaves. It's Nathie. How you doing, man? You're right.
Wow. Just wow. I am speechless. No comment. Seriously. But I like my name.
But you're doing all right?
Yes. Well, I had a little fever for a couple of days, but I did survive. Although, if you're sick, life starts to feel like a simulation. I don't know. So like the last few days were more like a virtual thing I've been doing than really something that is real. I don't know. This goes deep, but whatever.
What kind of tea is he making?
I think he's delusional.
He is. He's going crazy.
I drank some cloudy tea, Rowdy. Cloudy Rowdy.
Sure thing, Nathie.
You're gonna love the next one, by the way.
Oh no.
So finally, this guy is squeaky clean, always keeping it locked and fresh. It's Ziploc 5.
Oh, I love these. I hope credit will come where credit is due. But my God, Ziploc 5. You know what? When I knew this was coming, because I did get a little bit of a preview to this name, but I love the name Ziploc 5. I had half of mine to come on, where you didn't see me in the scene at all until this moment when he calls my name out, and I would slowly emerge from under the desk with a Ziploc bag over my head. And I thought, you know what? If any kids are watching the podcast, this could result in some really bad news. So don't do that. Don't put your head in a plastic bag.
I love Mike's reaction. He's like, no, Sim. No. Don't do that.
Exactly. I feel like I have to wrangle cats sometimes, keeping you lot in check.
Oi, don't even start with me, Mike. You know what I'm talking about, pre-podcast conversations.
But these special code names, by the way, are courtesy of VRDizzy.com. They're a website that provide satirical news from an alternative and often hilarious VR universe. So thank you for your article about the Volve Index and including us all in that article and coming up with those special names for us. So shout out to you. And last but by no means least, if you don't know who I am, I'm host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis, aka VR Osmosis. We've got an awesome show planned for you today. We're going to be talking about our hands-on experience so far with the Nintendo Labo VR. Nathie's going to give us an insight into the cool stuff he tried at VRX Europe in Amsterdam. Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases to look forward to next week. And then finally, we discuss the fresh information about Vader Immortal coming soon to the Oculus Quest and also the Oculus Rift. But of course, first up, let's find out what everyone's been playing in VR this week and their highlight of the week. Of course, if you want to join in with this bit in the chat, let us know what you played in the chat and maybe we can read some of those out at the end of the segment. But let's kick it over to Rowdy first and see if he got a chance to play anything whilst he's been back home.
Yeah, I haven't been able to play anything yet. I've actually been trying to redecorate the room a little bit. I'm not particularly finished. This is big white hole on the side still, but I'm working on it. I wanna spruce up the room a little bit to make it a little bit more proper for recordings. But I got married in Nigeria, so I mean that's my highlight of the week.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Not in VR, but actually in real life. I don't know how I did it, but somehow it worked. But yeah, it was awesome to be actually going there and meeting my girlfriend's family over there for the first time. So yeah, it was awesome. I've never been to Nigeria before, but it's bloody hot there. It's not made for my type of skin.
and the thing is as well, although you say you didn't get married in VR, it's worth noting that you did actually propose to your girlfriend in VR. And for those that maybe weren't listening to the show or watching the show back in the day when that happened, maybe you can kind of explain a little bit how that came about.
Yeah, I kind of I'm not an artist by any means when it comes to creating kind of environments or drawing, but I did my best. I made something with how's it called again? Tilt brush. And I tried to make some kind of romantic kind of forest scene with a little waterfall and some fog, and then I drew a little ring with glowing stuff, and then I tried to my girlfriend, she is not really into the entire virtual reality stuff. She tries it once in a while, but it's maybe in total she tried 5 times. But I tried to convince her back then to go and try something else, and it was something that I made and I was proud of it, this and that, and she and I wanted to record it and show it on the channel. I said, so I was like, oh yeah, the people are always asking about you. They weren't, but she doesn't know. So she put the headset on. She was obviously annoyed that she had to try it. She was like, oh, I have to try this on. Even zoom in on her face, you can see the annoyance on her face, again, this kind of stuff. She's like, oh yeah, this looks nice. This looks nice. Oh, what's this? Oh yeah, that's the tree. Yeah, that's a rock. Oh, there's a little fire over here. This and that. But then she turned around. There was this little plate that said, "Will you marry me?" And it was the ring below there. She was like, what's this? And it didn't really click, but slowly, she started realizing this isn't normal. This isn't supposed to be in the game. And then she realized that I was proposing for her. So she took the headset off and I gave her the ring. And that was how I proposed. It was a very fun video, and she really liked that. And it's something special, It's something for the two of us. Yeah.
It's an awesome story. And by the way, you can check out the video on Rowdy's channel if you search for it. Well worth checking it out. But it's good to have you back on the show. I'm glad you're back. Congratulations on getting married, by the way. So yeah, let's find out what Nathie's been playing this week then. Have you had the opportunity to play much this week?
Well, yeah, kinda. Also, Rowdy, big tip. Just go sit on the left side at your...
The entire time.
Yeah, nice. Perfect. Look at him. He finished his setup. just right there. That's how we do it. That's Hollywood, people.
Neck pain.
Also, Rowdy, you should show your hat you were wearing at.
I should actually. Next week I'll put my entire outfit on.
Okay.
Yeah, do that.
Okay. Well, deal.
I got my
Challenge
hat
accepted. Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Yeah. Wow.
So
Look at
for
this
the audio
beautiful,
listeners,
beautiful man.
Rowdy's wearing his like a hat from the ceremony that he did this week.
Traditional
Get married.
garb. It's awesome.
Looks very good.
So
Yeah.
that blue is like my favorite color blue, by the way.
Yeah, very nice.
I got an like a light green bluish one too.
Wow.
Accessories.
Wear it during like a green screen setup and like
Yeah, nobody can see me then.
amazing.
Stay tuned for his full outfit for next week. I'm already very curious. Anyways, yeah, I've been playing a couple of games. I played Vacation Simulator and also Ghost Giant. So let me quickly tell you what Vacation Simulator is like. Well, it's going on a holiday in VR, basically. So let's say you don't have the money to go on a vacation. Just do it in Vacation Simulator instead. But it's an amazing game. It's 10 times better than Job Simulator. I feel like a lot has been improved. It's wonderful, and yeah, shout out to Alchemy Labs, for making this happen. I made a video this week on Twitter thanking them for pushing the industry forward. I seriously appreciate what they do, and the games they make. So Vacation Simulator is a must play, and yeah, it's cool that you have like an open world kind of title now where you can decide where you want to go. And the funny part is, after playing it for like a couple of hours, I noticed that I'm still working. I'm still jobbing, because in the end, all these people on these vacation spots need your help with all kinds of little things. And so in the end, you're just going from one place to the other, working for them. So you're not really going on a vacation, spoiler alert. Although it does feel like that, because you can dress up your character now, you can make selfies, you can make photos of your surroundings, share them on Twitter. You can send them to Alchemy Labs too, and they might retweet it. I think that's a nice way to keep things interactive even outside of the VR world. So that's a quick summary of Vacation Simulator. Something else I want to say is that today I watched Johnny English Strikes Again. And I quickly just want to say that this movie is super funny, especially because there is a VR scene in there where
I've seen it as well.
Things
It's
escalate
so good,
very quickly. So if you want to watch a cool movie this weekend, I can definitely recommend Johnny English Strikes Again for the VR part, especially for the VR scene. Yeah, no, it's great.
Awesome. I also got to check out Vacation Simulator very, very briefly, and it seems like there's so much content in this game. Like you could spend hours and hours and hours getting sucked into this, and just like the original Job Simulator and Rick and Morty, which Alchemy Labs also made, there's loads of little hidden Easter eggs in there you can experiment with, and a few little things in there that I noticed was that Jacksepticeye is actually a voice of one of the characters in there.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. And also, this game is going to be coming to the Quest as well, right?
Yeah, it will.
So, I think if you're looking forward to this game and you're looking forward to a game that's got lots and lots of content in, I think you're going to be really happy with this on the Quest. And I'm sure it's going to port over really nicely as well, because the graphics, although are very bright and vibrant, they're not exactly taxing on a system, I would say.
No. It goes very deep. There are so many interactions you can do. And they have been developing this title for like 2-3 years. And they told me at PAX that the script they have been writing for this is so large, because they're like, okay, so you have a coffee machine, you could make coffee this way, but you can also do it that way. So they have all these different things they predict of how people would make coffee, for example, or do random things. So yeah, it's pure art. I mean, it's a masterpiece by itself. And Job Simulator became a classic. I mean, people are still playing it. And I think that Vacation Simulator will also be a big hit the longer it, when it comes out on every headset, basically.
The only negative thing is that you don't really get a tan from playing it. It's not like you go on holiday in real life. You get like a nice nice little tan. You still need to go to the tanning saloon if you want to get a tan when playing this game. Like they really need to figure that one out.
Although the plus side is you don't get any sand between your little toes anymore, because you go to the beach and there's nothing. You also don't get wet at all.
You could always change that though. Put a little bucket down with some sand in.
Of course. That's how I play it.
Dip your toes in there. So what about you then, Zim? What did you play this week and your highlight of the week?
My highlight of the week is submitting some videos for casting for a part in a commercial, upcoming VR commercial. Because I've never done that. I've never done something where you submit kind of like your CV equivalent to a casting agency and be like, pick me, and then you put on a little thing. It's a bit weird, like for someone who is so used to having several hundred people like looking at him over the last couple of years. It's weird how all of a sudden, when you're making a video for one person, all of a sudden you feel like a pinup and you're like, oh, we gotta cover up. I don't know. It's just it's a weird feeling. So I thought I'd share that. So that was fun. And eventually I'll share my casting videos on the internet somewhere. So, but the main highlight I suppose I wanted to cover was I've gone even deeper into playing contractors with the Forcetube. It's just so fucking good. And I say that from the bottom of my sniper heart. With the exception of like shotguns, put those to one side because it doesn't work that well. The Forcetube is just like the actual kick it gives you. I actually thought after 3 hours, I thought maybe I'd be bruised. Like it is strong enough on someone with a delicate frame like mine to maybe do a denting. Now the tough thing is, and I've been trying to support these guys because I am so wholly convinced in this peripheral. It's €300, which is not too far off, like £270, which is the average price that I paid between my butt kicker and my sub pack, which are also tactile units. So I think the pricing, even though some people go like, oh, it's a bit pricey, I think it's actually smack dab where I would expect it to be for what it is in such a niche. Rowdy there is showing us what it looks like. If you can back up just a little bit, Rowdy, see the full device on camera. But this thing, and I'm using it with my Vive actually, because that's where in my Vive room, I've got a little bit more space to kind of move around. But like one of the things I had, Rowdy showing off the bipod, like I've been trying to kind of like get prone on the ground and like snipe with this thing and stuff. It feels so amazing to do that. And the best part is what I'll call the Unreal Tournament simulation element to my contractor's gameplay, where I died. Like I wasn't dead, but I was out of ammo. So I laid on the ground, like arms flayed or whatever, so looking like I was dead. Enemy guy walks by me, looks at my body, keeps going because he thinks I'm actually dead. Reach for my secondary, cap him twice, he goes down, and I go, yeah! So it's been a good week.
Playing dead.
But yes, I would absolutely, yeah, playing dead, exactly. I would absolutely, just for anyone who's like on the fence, I certainly would have been. So if you're like me, but you're like, I love first-person shooters, this thing has gotten me now to the top of the leaderboard in these games. And it's something that I didn't know in contractors. They talk about people who don't have a stock, because it's like, oh, I was standing in front of this dude and he just couldn't shoot me. It's kind of like, 15, 20 years ago when I was LAN gaming in Cork in Ireland with all my team and we were playing competitively. Like we'd say that about like someone who was new to the game. It's like, fucking newbie. He emptied his AK and he didn't even kill me. But that's how they talk about people without stocks. And to have a force feedback stock, it's honestly a dream. So they're still selling them for and you can get it next month. You can get it next month, €300. I think it's awesome. Great deal. Anyway.
Even if you have already a ProTube, you can only get like the base module here and maybe the magnetic cups. Yeah. For like a discounted price. So actually, if you already have a ProTube, you can easily upgrade to one of these with the Kickstarter.
And if you have a mansion, the top package is 5 force tubes.
Whoa! Strap each one to your limbs.
I think they sold one pack. I want to know who that dude or lady is because I want to go to their party.
The best part about the entire ProTube though is still like the magnetic cups, taking this off and clipping it back in. Like, I really love that part of it. Like
the engineering of that in particular astounded me because as I mentioned before, you need to pull in the stock to your shoulder hard in order to get the most kick off the thing. And it's natural, because you naturally want to hold your M4 or whatever to your shoulder. But the fact that they can, in this direction, kind of back towards your shoulder, you can maintain a heavy pressure, like I'm pulling it as hard as I can, basically, and then still easily whip off left or right. Like, the way they've engineered that is just so nice. And I actually didn't even know for a while that the mag part of it, the magnetic cups, were like a later addition. So when I was first recommending the Forcetube, I didn't realize you could get it without the magnet bits. And so definitely go for the one with the mag part, which is the 300 quid one.
So a quick heads up, with this gun stock, you can play games such as Onward, Contractors, Pavlov, and many others.
Yeah,
right?
so there's like, they're just bringing support to H3 VR. So if you're a fan of H3 VR, I personally am. Anton's game is freaking awesome, and it has all these different mods and stuff. That's Sandbox. Just coming. So and those are all like dedicated games, so you won't get any, let's say, crosstalk between bits of the game that shouldn't maybe be giving you feedback. So those feel perfect. But then through some adaptive software, you can support many other titles. I haven't tested that yet. I think, Mike, you maybe have had some experience with other games that maybe aren't as closely supported. But I wanted to give that feedback because I think it's honestly deserved. And I'll say the same thing I said on Reddit. I believe that Forcetube belongs in our industry. And, years from now, when this thing is an even more refined product, I want to be able to buy it. So there you go.
Yeah. Yep.
Preach it. Also, talking about realism, what Tauk says, if you want to be like more immersed in Vacation Simulator, simply buy a bag of sand and stick it in the oven for a few hours, then walk around on it barefoot. Thank me later.
Excellent suggestion. Thank you for that, Tauk. But yeah, let us know if anyone else has got any suggestions about what they played in the chat that they want to highlight while I quickly just cover what I played. I had a pretty busy week, actually. I got to try Robo Recall on the Quest, a little event in London, which was pretty cool. To quickly summarize my conclusion, because it wasn't my highlight of the week, it is a graphically downgraded version of the game, obviously to get it to run on the Quest. But in terms of actual gameplay, it's been ported over one-to-one parity with the Rift version of the game. So it is the same game at heart. You'll still feel the same sort of sense of feeling when you're playing the game, and the gameplay is identical. So it's the same Robo Recall we know and love.
Any additional content in there, or is it just full-on port?
Full-on port. That's what we got. We haven't got any additional.
Wasn't like the major attraction of Robo Recall like the graphical fidelity of it?
Of course,
rather than the gameplay.
It was a big part of it because obviously it runs on this Unreal Engine. You've got these beautiful reflections, this beautiful city. All the interactions and the particle effects are really amazing on Rift, and they still stand today as a really great example of really good graphics in VR. But I think, the gameplay still holds up on its own, without the amazing graphics. And I'm really pleased that it is coming to the Quest.
Question for you, Mike. In terms of what I remember from playing Robo Recall, which I chewed through in 1 or 2 sittings, most people probably can, the trailer runs and then it transitions into the game. If the same is happening on Quest, does that feel like quite a stark difference? Kind of like, almost like playing a game in the 90s where they had CGI and then it transitioned to the game. You're like, oh, right, now I have 4 pixels. Did it feel like that?
No, because the intro sequence is rendered in game engine as well.
I didn't know that. Okay, I thought it was
the only thing I did notice, actually, which I didn't mention in my video, is that the loading times are much longer. And, the loading screens on the Rift are sort of all white with kind of like a thing there. But with the Quest, it's just like a square cutout of white, and then everything else is black. So it's a bit jarring, but... other than that, it's great. It's Robo Recall on Quest.
In the end, you play Robo Recall for the physics of throwing guns and catch them again and
exactly.
And you play for the freedom. My God, the freedom on Quest must feel amazing. Like that must, and we're seeing more of these games get announced for Quest that are just so exciting. So anyway, that's definitely one I want to play. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Like moving around freely, like you say, without wires is amazing. But yeah, it's not my highlight of the week. My highlight of the week is actually Ghost Giant on the PSVR. Now, you may not have heard of this game. It's a charming little story-driven puzzle game made by Zoink Games. It came out last week, and you play the role of, surprise, surprise, a ghost giant. And basically, you can only be seen by this little character called Lewis, who is an adorable little cat sort of character. And I won't spoil anything, but you sort of find out that Lewis is going through a bit of a rough time in his life. And it sort of bravely touches on some sort of like mental health issues, which is really surprising and interesting for like a game like this to sort of bring up sort of quite important sort of topics. But basically you assist Lewis by finding objects and solving little puzzles, and there's little collectible items in the various sort of stages, like little hats that you can put on Lewis, which is really cute. And then you can find little collectible bugs, and there's a basketball in each level that you can shoot through like a hidden net somewhere to unlock this unlockable thing. The voice acting and the music is great, and overall it probably took me maybe like 2 hours to just run through the game completely. I did it in one session because I was just super intrigued what happens at the end. But overall, I just felt like it was a really heartwarming game, really well done by Zoink Games. It's really sort of rare that you get these kind of games in VR. And I would say like it's the perfect game to play on a chilled Sunday afternoon. Like that's the kind of game you want to play. You know, it leaves you with a nice warm feeling.
Did you find it's a lot like I'm seeing a pattern here, Mike? This looks a lot like to me it looks a lot like Moss and Astrobot. It's what I would call an assisted third-person VR game, because you're playing the role of assistant, and is that right, or does it flip around a bit?
The thing is with Moss and Astrobot, it's a platformer at heart, those games. Although you do have those elements where you can interact with the character, like with Quill in Moss, the adorable mouse, you can feel a heartbeat, which is a really nice touch. In Astrobot, you can do like a little high five. And with Lewis in Ghost Giant, you can kind of pat him on the head and kind of, you feel like you're reassuring him that things are going to be okay, because he is going through this like tough spot in his life.
You pick him up and chuck him in the fire? No, you
can't do that.
What? That escalated quickly. My days.
But yeah, I thought it was like such an adorable little game, and I really enjoyed it. I love puzzle games in VR anyway, and this just had a really nice story to it. So it's kind of one of those games that I feel will be overlooked because it's not a game really for everyone. Some people want to play shooters and stuff like that, which is great. But I think this is going to be one of those hidden gems that people should really enjoy.
I do want to point out that you can't really compare it to Moz or what was the other one again? Yeah, Astrobot, exactly. Because in the end, those characters you control with a thumbstick, and with Ghost Giant, bye Rowdy. You control the character in a way where you wave at this character and you kind of lead him to a certain spot, but it's not like you can completely direct where this, where Louis is going next. Yes, but it's beautiful. It has a great story, interaction on point, and I call it like the revolution of VR storytelling. It's like the next step, and it reminded me, the art style reminded me a bit of Animal Crossing, because you're constantly on this round, planet. And it's full of Easter eggs, hidden secrets. I mean, Mike played it in 2 hours, he said, but I'm sure you could play a little longer and find all the hidden secrets in each level. And last but not least, what I want to say is that some mechanic that I haven't seen used that much is you actually blowing into the microphone and then interact with the environment that way. So you can have this little windmill and you blow into it, or scare some birds away with your wind, because you're a giant. So you have
Article 1 kind of did that with like the breathing.
Yes.
Like the cloud that you
but I barely see any developer using it in a way where you can really, I've never seen it on PC in that sense where you can really use it to control the gameplay, or that it's getting used as like a gameplay mechanic. But on PlayStation VR, I've seen it a couple of times, but I wish more would do that, because it's very immersive. It makes things feel even more real. Also in the chat, Oni Case played a Mac Z on the go, a very surprising experience. And VR Bug played No Man's Sky with Farpax. Yeah, this is like a true VR enthusiast. This guy, goes to the limit. And Beat Saber. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's what we played this week. So let's get in some quick news then. And first up is the Oculus Touch controllers, the new ones, are going to have some little Easter eggs in them. And by Easter eggs, I mean like little hidden messages, not like little chocolate eggs. But this is kind of strange news. It dropped yesterday about the new Touch controllers. And for those out of the loop, basically the Oculus Quest and the Oculus Rift S will be shipping with the newly designed Oculus Touch controllers. These new controllers have an inverted tracking ring. So it's kind of upside down to what we're used to. This is to help the Oculus Insight tracking system. They will be compatible with the original Rift as well, but the original controllers won't be compatible with Quest and Rift S. But anyway, Nate Mitchell, the co-founder of Oculus, tweeted yesterday something just completely out of the blue. No one was really expecting this. And he said, I quote, "Unfortunately, some Easter egg labels meant for prototypes accidentally made it onto the internal hardware for tens of thousands of touch controllers. The messages on final production hardware say, 'This space for rent,' and 'The Masons were here,' and they're going to be in the final shipped product to consumers." Like, this is completely like something crazy. So someone was clearly having a bit of a joke, and then it kind of went too far.
Yeah.
And they're actually going to be in the consumer units. If you're a dev out there, then you may have dev kits that actually have other messages in them. One of my favorites is "Big Brother is watching." And
I fixed it. We see you.
Exactly. So I thought that was really cool. But Nate Mitchell said, "While I appreciate Easter eggs, these were inappropriate and should have been removed. The integrity and functionality of the hardware were not compromised, and we fixed our process so this won't happen again."
But seriously though, like Big Brother is watching you, and Facebook is making these headsets.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I don't know. I don't know what people will think about that.
I don't know if you guys are as intrigued by this as I am, but the whole idea of like procedural text stuck together and then labeled on something gives it a kind of a sense of like, this is mine. It's like a pet that comes through the door, you know, with a name tag on it or something. But I recently started playing a card game with my wife called Keyforge, and one of the things of this is the decks are all unique, but they come with a name. And in their first production run, they accidentally sent out some stuff with like, you know, racist names and stuff in the deck name. And it's like, anytime you have a system like that, it's going to kick out something odd, right? But this was obviously just a prefixed list. But honestly, I think it would be a cool idea to have touch controllers with a randomly generated but sanitized name on them. I would totally be up for that. That sounds like a cool
or just let you name them yourself.
Well, that's more of an Apple thing, isn't it? Like you can get a custom etching on your Oculus Touch controller. That's another way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Nathie tweeted about it like under Nate Mitchell's tweet and said, you know, this is kind of cool. These are going to be collector's items, and I think they will become collector's items.
Yes.
Yeah. Certainly, if you can get hold of the Big Brother is watching ones from a dev somewhere, you know, I would love to have that in my collection.
No way that's hitting the street, Mike. There is right now the MIB of Facebook scouring the planet, recovering those devices right now.
Yeah, exactly. And
so is this on the front plate where it says usually like Oculus Quest? Where is this located?
I think it's hidden behind the battery compartment somewhere.
It's like on the front part, like Big Brother's watching.
No.
Okay, so it's hidden. So you might not even know it. So some consumers might have one, but they will never know because they don't look at that part.
I think it's going to be somewhere on the inside of the battery compartment. Like it looked like a wrist strap on the picture, but I wasn't quite sure.
Like a cable.
Yeah, but definitely as soon as my units turn up, I'm hoping that I get one with a little message inside. I'd be super happy if I did.
Dude, there are so many consumers who will have these and they don't even know because they don't look at that stuff. So if you really are a collector, you gotta just track everyone down and then go to their house like, hey, can I quickly look at your...
So this is the thing, like just to reiterate, on the ones that consumers will get, you're only going to get either one of two messages. This space is for rent, or the Masons were here. Only dev kits that shipped already will be getting, will have already had Big Brother is watching, or a hi, I fix it, we see you.
Jesus, if there wasn't already going to be contention in pre-ordering these devices, now it's like doubled. You know what I mean? People, I want the special message.
So, well, most of us have got two opportunities though, because we're mostly likely going to pick up the Quest and the Rift S. So we've got two chances each.
Oh, good point.
Get them.
I'm interested. I wonder if the stock is biased one way or the other. Oculus, tell us.
Interesting.
Also, what would you guys put inside this battery?
If we could decide.
Yeah.
Let's get rowdy.
Yeah, I'll think about that. Maybe we should take some suggestions in the chat what you would like as a secret message here. That would be really interesting. But quickly, while we're talking about Oculus, there's some more news that is kind of interesting as well while we're on the subject of the Quest, and that is that Racket NX was announced this week as coming to the Quest. And this is pretty cool news because Racket NX is like a cool sports game. It's kind of a fun mix between racquetball meets Breakout in
it's
VR.
Also one of the one that hits like the feeling of that you're actually playing with a racket really spot on in that game. That's
Right,
really
exactly. Yeah, and you have to basically hit a racket with a ball to hit blocks which are scattered around, and then they can spark chain reactions, which is super satisfying. It's a fun little game to play, and especially on the Quest, like we mentioned earlier, you know, being tetherless and being able to move 360, it's going to make this game even more enjoyable to play. But interestingly, with this game, in the trailer, they show someone playing the Quest outside in the desert with a tagline saying "Play anywhere." And this super intrigued me because this is something we've talked about for some time, like, you know, taking the Quest outside, playing in a park, you know, beat sabering in your garden or whatever. And I was recently at this like Oculus event in London, and I was talking about this. You know, I was with a few devs. I was talking about using the Quest outside, and a few people around us started raising their eyebrows a little bit and started looking a bit concerned that we was talking about using it outside. And apparently the Oculus Insight system isn't going to work well in sunlight because the sun is going to completely wipe out the camera's ability to track your surroundings and the controllers. So the sunlight...
The trailer makes perfect sense because it's actually not in the desert that he's playing. He's playing in a different galaxy where our sun is not there.
No. Better yet, Rowdy. He's playing in his house, but he heated the sand up, just a feck ton of sand, and he scattered it around. He was just playing Vacation Simulator, and now he's popped into the Quest for a quick go.
Exactly.
You got it.
How did he get the planets then?
Hollywood, once again, like you, Rowdy, like your setup. You know, it's all Hollywood. Okay. It's all made of cardboard and stuff.
We landed on the moon, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Don't even start that debate with him, Jesus.
Okay, let's quickly evade this discussion and just go to the chat real quick. So Paradise DK says that he would hide the message "No pancakes allowed."
Oh, great one. Yeah.
We also have someone saying "FReality," obviously, and Adrian says "Endless adventures," like in the Oculus Quest game on video.
Yeah, my answer to that, because I had to think about it for a minute, because I've been doing it since 2014, is my chatbot, who I talk to launch my programs, says something to me. It says, give yourself unto the world. And that's what I've had said to me before every show the entire time I've been casting. There you go.
That's nice. I like that.
Behind the scenes tip. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. But to go back to the Quest and the cameras, obviously, you know, we know that taking a VR headset out in the sun is a bad idea anyway. You know, not only because of the Insight tracking cameras, you know, they'll be limited with tracking because of the sunlight, but they might also get damaged. But also further to that, you know, these lenses basically magnify the sunlight and can really destroy your displays in the headset. And Zim's had this problem before, right? Zim?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a really interesting thing to think about, because this takes me immediately back to our conversation about the Index. When you have one potentially magnifying lens, when you have a second, I'm really interested if that complicates matters in any way. It's probably just more acting like a waveguide. I don't know, Rowdy can probably tell me. I don't know if he's a pro on optics here, but two lenses might be worse than one in that respect. But I can definitely tell you for the Go, and that will parallel now to the Quest, you really don't want to show that thing the sunlight ever. And I don't mean like take it outside and point it at the sun, because I walked my Go outside for 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes max in cloudy Ireland, and my screen was, you know, burned irreparably. I had to get a new unit. Don't do it.
One tip indeed, clouds do not matter for light, you know, that it has no impact at all. Like
this is why he's called the cloudy guy, you know.
That's why I'm cloudy guy.
We figured it out. Perfect name.
Well, in the end, as I said before, just don't play outside with the Quest. I mean, just
no.
You're gamers. You're meant to be indoors. Close the fucking curtains. Get back.
Although although it was mentioned whilst I was talking about this, that it would potentially work outside during twilight conditions because there is enough ambient light around for the tracking system to work, but not enough sunlight to damage the cameras or your lenses.
What an amazing...
So you can play virtual reality between 5 and 6 in the morning and 6 and 7 in the evening.
Exactly.
No, but what a cool video that would be. Like someone Beat Sabering it in the middle of a field or something with a bit of like starlight twinkling in the background and stuff. Heckin', hey, this is cool.
Yeah. But I wonder if the Quest will come with a warning in the box, on the literature.
Don't play during twilight.
Yeah, well, or just it shouldn't be played outside.
No, they will. I think the Go already does. In the first rendition of the Go that I had, it had a very minimal warning in the safety manual. The second version I had, it had a very explicit warning in about 3 different places, including on the peel-off bit on the lens. So they have upgraded their kind of warning system, and no doubt it's because of returns and things like that.
Oh, they have to. Do you guys remember that one guy who died because he didn't set up his boundary system correctly, and then he fell through a glass table?
Yeah, that was PSVR, right?
With the Quest, you're not wired anymore. So if you're too immersed and you didn't set up things correctly, or you're playing outside while you shouldn't because you could damage the cameras, then
it's basically Johnny English all over again.
Well, yeah, that's...
Yeah, basically what we're saying here is VR responsibly. Yeah,
just don't. Stay inside. Don't do it.
I wonder if vrrugs.com is sold yet as a domain.
Well, now it did, just now.
Yeah, it's gone now.
It's gone.
Bye.
But yeah, that's a little snippet about the Quest, and maybe that we won't be able to play outside after all. It's also worth noting with Racket NX, it does support cross-buy, so if you own the game on Rift already, you'll get it for free on the Quest.
Another title that got announced was Drunken Bar Fight for Quest.
Awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. For the people that are really interested in playing that, it's coming.
Jesus, that's going to hurt somebody. That is
really
going to hurt somebody.
Don't play that in a bar. That's what we're saying.
Look.
Drunk.
For all the casters and tubers here, there's only one clear message, which is when you start to play, take your phone and put it over here and click record right before you start to play. And then whenever you smack yourself into a wall or fall down a staircase, you'll become a millionaire overnight in YouTube. So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Every cloud. Rowdy. But anyway, let's move on to the last bit of quick news, and that is a game called Paper Beast coming to PSVR. And this has really sort of piqued my interest because one of my favorite games of all time is called Another World. It's also called Out of This World in the US. But it's a game that launched back in 1991 on the Amiga. I love that game, played it many, many times over and over. And the developer of the game, called Eric Kahi, is now involved with developing a new game for VR, which is going to be called Paper Beast, coming to the PSVR. Now, apparently this title has been in development for 3 years by Kahi's new studio called Pixel Reef. And it's set somewhere deep down in the vast memory of a data server. So it's kind of like where an ecosystem where decades of lost code and algorithms have accumulated, and basically a little sort of ecosystem has spawned from that, and you get to explore that world, which kind of sounds pretty interesting. It's described as a virtual journey leading quirky animals through a colorful universe that sprouts from the remnants of an internet of past.
When you say a colorful journey, is that colorful journey with a capital J? In other words, a colorful copy of the game Journey? Because it looks
exactly
a bit like
right.
that.
Yeah, and it's great that you picked up on that because I was exactly going to say that. It looks exactly like Journey on the PlayStation, right? It's similar in that it doesn't have a narration. It's all kind of unspoken and delivered through the environment and the characters. So yeah, it's very similar to Journey in that sense. So this could be the journey of VR essentially.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm super excited about this because Eric Kahi has been a developer that I've loved for many years. He also made a game called From Dust as well, which was kind of cool. But yeah, this is a Paper Beast, and it's going to be coming to PSVR sometime in 2019.
Looks beautiful.
It really does. I didn't catch, Mike, when you were saying it because I was too focused on the bloody trailer, which is very pretty. What did you say? It was multiplayer or is it a single player game?
No, I think this is a single player adventure. Yeah, you just kind of one of those things you sort of get lost and immersed in the environment and the colorful atmosphere and the different creatures and stuff, and sort of explore it at your own leisure, I think.
Yeah. I hope that the developer does take. I mean, usually for kind of indie devs and stuff, they'll bring a game out and then later they'll consider a different avenue. And I can just see an immediate pivot. Again, talking about Journey, that kind of silent multiplayer, VR would be the perfect avenue for something like that. And anyway, I'm looking forward to playing it single player as it is, but it's a lovely looking title.
Oh, well, Zim, maybe they port it to PC later down the road, and then if you have a Pimax, you can play with 2 people inside. You can use one headset together because the field of view is so wide. might work.
Exactly.
Share the experience, right?
Oh, God damn it. Jesus, Nathie.
Sorry.
2 in 1, huh?
So before we get into the releases, a little quick message. We don't have a sponsor this week, but we just wanted to put it out there that if you're a developer working on a game or VR hardware or accessories and would like a sponsor slot on the show, feel free to email us on our email account, contact@freality.tv, and we can discuss that further. But now let's pass it over to Zim for what we should and maybe shouldn't be playing in VR this week. So let us know, Zim. I'm super intrigued.
I had all these guys chanting the name of this first one just before we started off, and this title is as good as it sounds. This is the one of the week that for me was kind of fits my joke slot. I do this intentionally. You guys probably know that already, but I do this to wake you all up so you pay attention to the proper titles. This one I found on, yet again, the cornucopia that is Steam, and it's called Tombslayer, which it sounds like Doomslayer. So it sounds like, oh, maybe that would be good. Or it sounds like Tomb Raider. That's also a good title. Maybe that's what they were going for. Anyway, I'll tell you about this one. This one released actually on April 10th, so a couple days ago. I'm going to roll the trailer for this one, which is totally special. And at first sight, it becomes apparent that Tombslayer VR makes a point to blend the old and new by combining futuristic functionalities in an anachronistic and archaic setting. You are situated in an ancient Egyptian sepulcher, whatever the feck that is. However, the protagonist is equipped with an ultra high-tech firearm, it's a gun, which resembles something straight out of the space age. Are you ready to face the wrath of the tomb? Prepare yourself for a battle like never before. 15 frames a second, wave shooter, and Tombslayer. The thing with this one, right? You're like looking at, and I was looking for a title that maybe give us a little bit more, because last week we did one that was like, ladies related. I was kind of looking for like the man one, and I couldn't find it. And it starts off again, ladies in a bikini for our audio listeners, and then it shows a dude who's probably the developer, but he is covered from head to toe in Egyptian garb. You can barely see his face. It was a whole letdown, and I hope it was as much a letdown for me as it was for you.
Hey, but seriously, this trailer is pretty good though. No, like you can see the dedication. They dressed up, they bought these outfits to, and actually I played this game because it looks very familiar.
No,
I
really?
didn't play. No, I didn't play it on PC, but I played this on the Go. I think they made a Go version where you went into a tomb as well with the same, mummies and demons and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know if you like. Wave shooters, then
I got only one question.
Check out, but
I got only one question. Is she in it?
No, she wasn't. She wasn't. No. Obviously, it's a very exotic trailer indeed, Rowdy. I agree.
It's, but no, the dev. I think he's a dev. I don't think he's a paid actor. Whoever was in that Egyptian garb, he was my favorite bit and sold me on having to plug Tombslayer this week. That's $9.99 US, by the way. Which to me looks like a bit of a high price for a game that there's no way I'm ever going to fucking play that. So.
Well, anyways, to make this fair, if this developer is watching or you are going to play their game, give them some good feedback, and then they can, improve stuff in the near future.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. Like things that we like or don't like as critics, it's important to recognize that that feedback, although for any dev is going to probably sting on first listen. Can actually help.
Not every
you.
dev has as much funds as any other dev. Sometimes you only have a 2 months schedule to make something, so you gotta start somewhere. And in the end, I can't build games. I would not even get close to this. I don't know what I would be able to present to you guys. I might be able to make the trailer, but that's it. But so.
Yeah, that's well said. Well said. Okay, let's move on to something a little bit more serious. So the next title is a PSVR title for just about $10, so around about the same price point. Released on April 11th, so again, just a couple days ago. by Singularity Lab. So this one is JetX. This one caught my eye probably first on the Oculus Home Store, and it's because of the odd combination, which fascinated me a little bit. It looks a little bit like Wipeout had a child with some other first-person shooter game. It's cross-platform multiplayer, and they say that meaning cross-platform on PSVR. But it features arcade racing, epic battles in an arena, and a rich variety of modes. Players can race with friends or compete against bots to reach the first place in an online leaderboard. Our game is an inviting challenge originally built for VR, now also available for PC. So they've actually opened up the doors for PC on this one. Crystal caves, otherworldly landscapes, and space wastes in a sharp, low polygon aesthetic. It says, arm yourself, collect power-ups, and go ahead to the victory. So, I don't know. Looks interesting. I'm a big fan of like Wipeout and stuff like that. I have no idea what this combination of game design elements would bring, but certainly caught my eye. So I thought we'd touch on that one. What do you guys think of that? Are you guys into racers and stuff at all? Space
Not my kind of thing. I mean, races, yeah, but it kind of looks plain.
If you have a PSVR though, you should just go and buy Wipeout. Or if you have a PC, go and check out Redout or something like that.
Redout, yeah.
Wipeout is almost too much content though. I mean, I had trouble with that. Like I was like playing it like 3 different play sessions. It's 3 games in one. It's like that's the thing. It's like it's almost too much. I know Wipeout fans are gonna be like, you can't get enough. And it's got a good soundtrack. But actually, my favorite, and I know Wipeout fans hate me for this, but I think Redout and all of its DLC are one of the best. It's one of the best soundtracks coupled with the best racing game in my opinion. And I don't mean like racing cars. I mean like racing, space pods and stuff like that.
Also, a hidden gem is Distance VR.
Yep, agree. It's very good. Custom maps, thousands of custom maps.
Oh, custom maps? Oh,
yeah, you can play multiplayer, which is actually really challenging because they make some freaking insane maps.
It's a PC game, by the way.
It's from like 3 years ago, Nathie. I'm surprised you even knew about that one. There you go.
Well, OG, right? OG.
OG. All right. Now, we gave you a bit of a scintillating overview of Ghost Giant before. This is actually coming out soon, so I thought let's show you a little bit about what Mike was speaking about earlier, which is this, as I said, combined
we have this
before.
deep voice of Mike describing this title?
Sadly, no.
Yeah, sorry, you have to stick with me for
Sadly,
now. So anyway, they describe themselves as a heartfelt puzzle story in VR, which I think is pretty much what Mike was saying earlier, about trying to keep life together and a little help from a very big friend. I like the way they wrote that. So whoever wrote that statement,
it's so cute, right? Like,
it's kind of adorable and also in a bit of a sad way, where it kind of conveys the whole background and context of the game. The thing that as a proud father, right, you get subjected to all kinds of kids programs, and to be honest, this one looks quite a bit like Tumbleleaf, which is something my kids really like. The animation style on that, the kind of cutesy side of it. If you don't know about Tumbleleaf, go look it up. Very, very high animation quality. If you have kids and they haven't seen Tumbleleaf, then you're welcome, because there you go. But yeah, it reminded me of Lucky's Tale a little bit as well. I think it's because of how kind of zoomed out you are from the character here helping out, like little Louie. So yeah, I don't know. It looks really good to me.
I always like it when developers, because even though it might look like a kid's game, but like the underlying message is. It's not really like aimed at kids. It's also for adults. I like it when games do that, when they manage to touch you in a certain way that even though you're playing a kid's game, you still have a different kind of approach to it. And I've played like a ton of these kind of games, like just in 2D as well, where it's actually it is a kid's game, but you can see it's made by adults, and they put some stuff in there that really like, because the reason why people like this game is because they partly recognize themselves in it in some way, some aspect. And it's really nice that a game can do that, because it can help you out with these kind of things as well. So yeah, I like this kind of stuff a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, at the beginning, it's got like an undertone that really touches on sort of like mental health issues, which, it's a great way of bringing that subject to the surface in a game that you wouldn't expect would do something like that.
I think, again, like educating people about certain issues is a great way of using VR. It's the same with Falcon Age, as I said. It's very important.
I remember I once played a game, but I forgot the title of it. But it kind of reminded me of this one. It was you were going through the entire game, like doing all these kind of like weird little things. It was all like, you had to find like the little eggs and this kind of stuff. But in the end, you realized that that entire journey you went on was because you actually lost your dad on an early age. So it was actually a very deep kind of like context. And it was like the way of like coping with that feeling of losing your dad, that it actually like make you do all these kind of things. So that's like a very powerful concept, I think, to bring that forward.
Yeah. Wow. Floored. Well said, lads. Well said. Okay. So the last title of the week is something that again caught my eye. I love the visual fidelity and the things devs are doing with these. Table of Tales, The Crooked Crown is launching for PSVR. And this is coming out on the 16th of April, which is the same as Ghost Giant, by the way. So this one is as I said, very unique graphics in it. It's an RPG that has kind of a magical element to it. And you have this table before you that besets the scene. You've got this kind of card game, dice rolling element to it in this kind of RPG setting. And you're trying to overcome the fate of this town as you're journeying through the game. But the way the map kind of pops up from the screen, this kind of liveliness that it brings to this setting, I found to be really really engaging, just in terms of the way the trailer is presented. The combination of assets, obviously we've seen it in things like Skyworld, which we've talked about before, and I think unanimously we didn't quite like that. But this one almost reminds me a little bit of kind of like Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. So this combination of things I'm very interested in, I have to say, because I didn't know anything about this one. Again, it's called Table of Tales, The Crooked Crown, and it just totally came out of left field for me. So what do you guys think?
Someone in the chat says it seems Risk-like as well.
D&D, something D&D like sounds pretty cool, like a nice concept that would work well in VR. Like,
it's just nice to see how like it's like spreading out. Yeah, we used to only like cover like wave shooters, but now like it's like the variety that is coming out of like titles and new stuff is being tried. It's like awesome to see.
Yeah, this also makes me wonder where all the PC VR game releases are at the moment. But once again, a reason to maybe get a PSVR, or if you already own one, well, you made a great decision.
Well, it's actually a really good time for people who are sitting there with serious fear of missing out, FOMO, and looking at all this news about the new expensive headsets that are landing. And maybe they're sitting there going, I can't friggin' afford that. All I've got is a console. And if you have been, again, I'll say the same thing. If you've been on the fence about PSVR this whole time, we all love PSVR. It's got a huge library of content. That content is portrayed to you at 90 FPS. Feels great, runs great. Sony's QA makes sure you don't get the rubbish sometimes you get on Steam. So I have to give, same as what Nathie was saying, just pick one up. I mean, don't worry too much about the fact that PC's moving forward and there's some new headsets. That's a good recommendation, and it definitely gets a double thumbs up from me at the moment. There's just so much content landing on it, and every week that I'm scraping for releases and things, honestly, PSVR is the easiest platform to find content on, new content, and stuff that's kind of quite wild and exciting in different categories. So if you are looking for it, PSVR is not a bad way to go.
Also, expensive headsets don't mean better headsets in any way. PSVR is on top of the ladder right now. It's the best option you can go for in terms of content. So even if you're like, oh, I can't afford this headset, well, actually, you don't have to. Doesn't mean anything in this industry at the moment. PSVR is the best content. If you're like a hardcore gamer and you have a PlayStation laying around already, smart upgrade, get a PSVR. If you don't have a PlayStation, you don't have a PSVR, then you might consider other options. But if you have a PlayStation VR or a PlayStation, laying around, I would totally consider.
And look for deals. Look for secondhand. I've seen on Reddit just this week. Some people have picked up the whole PSVR setup with some games for $120. Like, I mean, that's mind-boggling level of value.
I mean, I bought 2 PSVRs secondhand. I bought one from a person on like a Dutch marketplace on a website like eBay. And I also bought one from a store because sometimes people return them and then you can get them for a cheaper price. Sometimes it's it's actually a good, way to do that, because you still get the warranty, and you buy it for a way cheaper price. So yeah, secondhand, I totally support that. Totally support that. Although if you do buy it from a consumer, from an actual person, I would check it out. Go there, look at the headset, look at the lens, especially the lens. If the outside is damaged, who cares? If the inside is fine, grab it. Yeah. That's it.
There you go. And that's it from me, Mike. So back to you, Mr. Osmosis.
Good advice there. Good advice there about the PSVR. But let's talk about one of the first juicy topics, and that is Vader Immortal. So yesterday, Oculus and ILM X Labs hosted an hour-long talk about this game at the Star Wars Celebration event that's currently taking place in Chicago. I watched this thing from home and obviously was super jealous because the people that are actually at this event get to try an exclusive demo of this game. So there are actually people trying this on the Quest right now. So I'm very jealous of you who are there. But Vader Immortal Episode 1 will be the first in a series of stories that's never been told before. So it's going to be exclusive to Quest and the Oculus Rift. And this is the first time also that we've heard that it's coming to the Rift, which is amazing news, because I know when this was announced coming as a Quest title at OC5, we were all there. We were like, ooh, Rift owners are going to be a bit upset about this because, this looks like a really cool game and, they're going to miss out. But gladly, it's going to come to the Rift as well. But just quickly before I move on to the details of this game, how do you guys feel about it coming to Rift alongside Quest? Were you kind of thinking it would be a smarter move for Oculus to keep it as a Quest exclusive, or how do you feel about it?
I think Quest stands on its own already. They have so many launch titles. This is one of them. I don't see it as a negative thing that it's also launching on Rift, just because I think people are getting the Quest for different reasons. Rather than if they would go and also try to isolate their games for their own platforms, I think that'd be not a good way forward. So I think it's actually, I'm happy that they're also releasing it for Rift. I mean, in this time and age, can you not be a Star Wars fan? I mean, they announced a new trailer for Star Wars. What is it, 9 already now? So yeah. It's I can't wait till Christmas,
Yeah, exactly.
I guess for me, Mike, the main thing is the visual fidelity of it. So the trailer that we can see now for Vader Immortal is obviously lo-fi, and it's what we're going to see on Quest. Actually, you're not hearing it obviously as we're casting it, but the sound design and what you hear in the trailer is really enticing. It gives that vibe of Star Wars. It gives the vibe of character depth. There's a bit of backstory there, and I think even in the trailer they do a good job of conveying who you are and what you're going to be doing in the game. But in terms of that, how that translates, because when they show you the higher fi version and then they show you the lower fi, you don't tend to have the same concern that maybe I do right now, which is how did they upscale it? And are we talking about? I really assume for a studio this important that they're not going to just port a Quest game to PC owners and have low res textures in there. I assume it's going to look along the lines of Stormland and be quite visually impressive. So if that's true, then I'm glad, and I think it is the right move.
I don't think that's going to happen, because I feel like this Star Wars game has been made for the Quest, and as we all know, the Rift S came along, and now they decided to also bring it to the Rift S. But I still stand with the fact that it should have been a timed exclusive on the Quest, because this was a killer app for the Quest to sell to people. And I also feel like it would have been better for the sales in general if people were all buying a Quest with the Star Wars game. Because now, in the end, and this is something we spoke about at PAX, is that people want this Star Wars game. There's so many Star Wars fans that want to spend this money to experience this, right? But they end up on maybe the Oculus website or somewhere else, and then they get this confusion again of what should I buy?
What do
or
I need to
should
buy?
I play it on this or that? And I felt like they could have avoided that by keeping this a timed exclusive on the Quest. But and I feel like people need to get standalone right now. That's what I'm saying.
But they also got to tell people before they come out and say, oh, we're going to release this headset on ABC date. And I get the feeling, because they've been in all their images lately having, it's like Rift S and Quest next to each other, that they're going to announce the dates of release, and those dates are probably going to be the same date. when they're going to be able to be purchased. So you
Yeah.
have to know
And
in
also
advance of that if the titles that you're going to want to play are going to be on the headset, because their software content is going to drive your purchase. So the only other thing that I would say against that, Nathie, is yes, there's going to be volumes of people buying a Quest for Beat Saber, right? I'm wondering what percentage of that population is going to buy the Quest for an unknown Star Wars title, because not all Star Wars titles have been good, so
No, but the danger here is that they have been constantly advertising the Star Wars title with Quest and not with the Rift S. And
For
now,
6 months.
Last moment, it's like, oh, let's do it together. Like the first trailer they released was, with the Quest at Oculus Connect. They were talking about this game comes on the Quest.
Yeah.
So they now at like the very end of things, they suddenly do all of this. But again, the Rift S felt like a thing that just suddenly popped up and now everything needs to happen.
Yeah.
So it's a bit confusing.
and you're anticipating a port, is what you said, right? So you're anticipating they're just going to port the Quest game to Rift.
Well, yeah, they made it for the Quest.
I think
sure.
there's something that I didn't really consider, and I think you've kind of got me a little bit concerned now that, if it has been developed for
Sorry
Quest,
about that.
how well it's going to look on PC. So I'm a little bit concerned about that now that you've mentioned it. It's not something that I considered before, so it's a good point that you raised. But I do feel like it's a smart move for them to bring it to both, only because I felt like the core community that had always been there from the beginning felt like they were missing out on something, and to leave those core audience out.
But that's why I said like a timed exclusive.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, even if it was just like a month or so. I get
kind
your
of
point.
separate those two markets, because I feel like they wanted to create another reason to get people on this Rift S, because the Rift S needs content to be selling it. Right now there isn't enough reason to get a Rift S. They have like a lot of current content.
Yeah.
But they need to really make more stuff.
Yeah, because aside, again, drop of the hat, right? Someone's walking off the street. What are they buying Quest for, other than Beat Saber? Like name 3 titles, right?
But it's not. It's for the accessibility and the fact that it's portable and they don't have a PC is generally the reason why someone
That's
will
what
buy
I mean.
Quest.
Like Rec
It's
Room,
not
like,
necessarily for all the titles. Yeah.
Exactly. And also, I'm wondering, how does it work with the stores? By the way, if you purchase Vader Immortal for the Quest, do you automatically get it also for the Oculus Rift store? Has there been any information regarding that already?
It's up. So again, it's up to the developer if they want to do this. But Oculus is supporting the idea of just go for cross.
Okay.
So you just buy it at one platform, then you have it everywhere.
Yeah.
But as a
have
developer,
they
you
said
can
anything
still.
about that for Vader Immortal? They
Not
haven't. They haven't.
No,
yet,
but
so we don't
since
know. But
They
also,
were working together with Oculus.
Since it's coming out for Rift S, that means it's the same store as Oculus Rift, right?
Yes.
So you'll be able to use it with your Oculus Rift as well.
Yeah, of course, and that's a really important point to highlight. Thanks for that, Rowdy, because although we're talking about Rift S, of course this is going to be playable on the original Rift as well. So if you already own a Rift, don't worry, you don't have to upgrade to play this game.
No.
The store with Rift S will always be the same as Rift. The games will always run on both headsets regardless, so you don't need to worry about that. But let's quickly just jump into the story.
Future Zim is looking back in time and saying, "You've said always a lot there. Just be careful with that."
I would say always. I would still say always.
Well, they could push a firmware update that nukes the original Rift by accident.
They won't do that.
Well,
They won't do that.
Okay.
I don't feel so anyway. I'll bet you a burger.
Big Brother's watching
you
you.
bet me another burger, huh? Yeah,
I'll bet you another burger.
Are you
on it.
gonna eat Palmer's flip-flop if you're not right?
Yeah.
I'm curious though. So what, Rowdy and Mike, what are your takes on this? Because Nathie and I think are sitting opposite the table. He's saying port with kind of the original build, right? I'm saying they refined it, upscaled graphics and stuff, and maybe they built it for Quest, but I'm expecting it to look pretty when it hits on PC.
I'm hoping you're right. Yeah. Of course it's going to look better on the Rift anyway, but I'm hoping that you're right in that they've pushed it even further into what a PC can be, can be capable of.
We also still don't know how much of it is interactable, right? They're still listing it as an experience.
Based on the
it's
trailer,
easier to do a boost in the graphical fidelity if there's not too much going on. Right.
I think based on the trailer, it looks very on rails, like a movie experience, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't feel like a really open thing you can go for.
So let me just quickly cover the story, and we can talk more about the gameplay, because we do know a little bit about the gameplay. In terms of the story, that takes place, it will be set before A New Hope in the sort of Star Wars timeline. And this story, although it's standalone and exclusive to VR, it will be canon in the overall Star Wars universe, which is awesome.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You actually play the role of a captain of a smuggling ship called Windfall, and you have a droid companion, like all great Star Wars movies, named Zoe 3. During the experience in the beginning, you're actually captured by Imperial forces and taken to Vader's castle, which is on this fiery planet called Mustafar, and you have to sort of find out why you've been chosen in particular by Vader. He's obviously got a plan for you somewhere. The actual story of Vader Immortal is connected to the Void experience that we've all tried, called Secrets of the Empire. During that sort of experience, if you've not seen or heard of it, it's like a location-based experience. You basically go undercover as stormtroopers to infiltrate the facility to steal the plans of something. I won't spoil anything. But apparently that story is connected to Vader Immortal as well. That event happens 3 days before the events of Vader Immortal. So it's awesome that they're connected. It's rumored that the experience will last around 45 minutes to an hour, but they did say that you'll be free to spend as much time exploring like the environments, like Vader's castle and the base and things like that, as much time as you want. So there is some sort of free exploration elements to this game. It's not just like on rails, as you kind of described. And also, the most important thing is that you're going to be able to wield a lightsaber and fight people with it, which is freaking awesome. We've wanted this for forever. And if you don't get enough of that in the main story, there is a separate arcade sort of lightsaber dojo mode that you can play as much as you want after you've completed the story.
And is there music in that dojo mode by any chance?
We don't know for sure.
Are there blocks there?
Yeah, there are blocks. Slicing?
I get what you mean now. But what we do know, talking about the audio, is that they've really worked hard on the spatial audio of the Oculus headsets. Both the Rift and the Quest have excellent 3D spatial audio, so you'll be able to hear it when the lightsaber powers up, and the sort of noises it makes when you swing it around, and also enemies, locations, and where they're coming at you from before you even see them. So
audio is going to be incredibly important for this. I mean, just think about that whole kind of buzzing lightsaber going past your ears. And the thing that I want to see, well, you can't really see it, but I want to hear from someone their review of comparing the original Rift and its lovely headset, compared to how that sounds on Quest. You do a Rift and Rift S comparison to be like for like, but I'm really curious because that the original Rift audio and the audio engine behind it was like absolutely fantastic. And I think it was one of Palmer Luckey's like main kind of contributions mentioned on the forum in the early days that he was going to bring to this headset, then brought it out, and it sounded amazing. For an on the ear experience, like I'm still blown away by it.
From my experience, I still think that the headphones on the Rift sound better than the inbuilt on the Rift S, and also the
absolutely.
The Quest is a different story, but Rift S for sure.
But there is something interesting, and I should have probably mentioned this earlier whilst we was talking about the Quest, but it's a little snippet from my Discord. Something got leaked from Best Buy, and it was, do you know we've already mentioned about the Quest has 2 headphone jacks, one on either side?
Yes.
And Oculus, back at OC5, hinted that this would be for an official accessory. Turns out that this official accessory will be launching at the same time as the Quest launches. Will be an optional extra, but it seems like it's going to be some over-the-ear or in-ear headphone accessory. We don't know which one it is yet, but you're going to be able to buy that on launch. Okay. So if you are worried about like the audio of the Quest, then you're going to have an option there.
Actually, that makes total sense.
Over the ear or on the ear?
We think it might be an in-ear accessory, or it could be an on-ear accessory, but it won't be over.
They should have still included this though, because a lot of people are going to miss out. But it's
worth
good.
It's worth showing you these. Like this was an accessory for Rift. These are in-ear earphones that were launched with a Rift. You can buy these as an optional extra. So I think it's going to be something similar to this.
I'd say so.
Little earbuds, but I think that's a better experience than having just the audio through the pipeline anyway.
I have to be honest, I never liked the on-ear headphones on the Rift. And
never did?
Neither did I. No, never.
Are you talking audio quality or the fact that they're on-ear headphones?
That they're on-ear headphones.
I'm the same.
Despise that.
So I am not, and that's why
it hurts my ears after 20 minutes. I find the bleed through audio and the bleed out. It's too much for me.
Okay.
I really don't like it.
We are definitely the same, Rowdy, because I use aftermarket, Sennheisers over the top for a few reasons. One of which is that on the headset that I have, it's got great pass-through, so you can actually, if someone's sitting there trying to talk to you, you're not isolated from them. You can actually hear them. You know what I mean? And if you've got a wife or a significant other sitting with you, and you're trying to talk to another, and you're having to have the headphone off, then loses the bloody point of having the headphones, for the fidelity of the audio. So I'm with you on that. And on-ear headphones are generally uncomfortable. All that said, the quality of those was better than any other on-ear headphones I've tried in my life.
So just quickly, before we move on, so both of you guys removed the over-ear headphones on the Rift.
On the Vive and the Rift.
And use your own audio solutions like Sennheisers or something. Okay.
Well, you can. Looping back to the story of Star Wars Vader Immortal, I gotta tell you guys something, okay? You ready for this?
You go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay. So I will be actually, well, this is spoiler alert, I'm a stormtrooper in this game.
You are?
Yeah, here.
God.
Nice.
It's gonna be the one that like misses everything. Oh wait, they all do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I never miss.
So yeah, that is Vader Immortal.
Sorry,
in
for
a
our
nutshell.
audio listeners, I must say he just popped on a stormtrooper helmet. Nathie did, and looked quite the part with his Rebel T-shirt showing.
I know, right?
David
Bowie meets Star Wars. Rebel.
It's awesome. Good.
Carrie Fisher, right here.
Let us know in the chat if you're hyped for Vader Immortal. We'd love to know. But we're going to move on to our second topic today, and that is Nathie going to VRX in Europe. This was an event held in Amsterdam, is that right?
Correct, yes.
All about sort of VR and stuff. So you got to try some interesting stuff there, including the HP Reverb, which we've talked about in a previous episode of the show. So super intrigued to hear about your thoughts on that. So take it away, dude.
Yeah, so first of all, to quickly summarize to you what VRX is, this is an industry event where gaming, media, training, and other businesses come together that do all kind of that, stuff. And this was in Amsterdam, and I was very curious because I've never been to VRX before, although this was I think the second or the third time they organized it. And everyone who was there were, well, mainly investors, developers, and people that are like CEOs of these big, corporations. And they had a couple of things that you could do there. They had loads of panels where you could learn about, for example, Unity, Magic Leap, all kinds of subjects like the future of VR or AR, how we can make VR more mainstream, things like that. So those were the panels, and there were like a lot of people there, like Andreas from Fast Travel Games. They make Apex Construct. Sam Watts from Make Real. They also developed Loco Dojo, and many more people. And yeah, you could try some stuff there. I tried the Magic Leap once again. I tried it at the YouTube office in Silicon Valley, but this time I could spend some more time with it. Great. I played some Angry Birds. Super fun. Yeah, super fun. And also something about global warming. I could like spin the planet around and touch upon certain things and see what's going on in the world. It's was super cool. Yeah. So that's like one of the things I tried, but there is more. I'm not sure. Are we playing the video right now of what I've been? Because I'm
no, not at the moment. Nathan, we aren't. No.
Okay, sure. Because I do have some interesting footage of the HP Reverb, a very cool MR headset, the newest one, and it was called Copper first, right? That was like its code name.
Yes.
And I tried it for like 5 to 10 minutes. They had this demo of showing its resolution mainly, because that's what it's all about with the HP Reverb, and it's impressive. There are so many headsets coming out nowadays, so I was like, resolution, super solid. Field of view was quite small, although it matches the Rift and it matches the Samsung Odyssey, and it's good. It's a great headset, although the price is pretty high, but it's for B2B. It's for businesses. They do sell it to consumers as well, but it's like 600-700 as far as I know.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was 600. The resolution is 2160 by 2160 for those interested. And I think the field of view they claim is 114 degrees, so like a couple of degrees more than the headsets that we already know and love. So you're hardly going to notice that, to be honest.
It's solid.
Resolution is the biggest jump.
Mm-hmm. And the design, I said like, hey, this is finally a different design. It has this nice soft front, and the back is also very, very cool. So it has like, it looks different. It definitely pops in some ways. And they were showing this in combination with their new backpack. And I was like, why are you still making backpacks? That was my first reaction, because we have these wireless adapters nowadays, although they don't work with the mixed reality lineup. But they had this new backpack with a 2080 in there. And super small, like really small. I remember those ones from MSI, those big ass like astronaut packages on your back, right? But this one is like super small, and you could like click 2 batteries in there for an hour of playtime. But yeah, no, it was good. It's just there's so many headsets, and I'm kind of like, okay, it's good. It meets the standards of what most people expect of VR.
Did anything particularly stand out about it? I mean, did the physical form factor at all feel different because it's coated in that like different covering? Was it noticeably smaller? Because it looks almost like slightly smaller than.
Yeah, no, it is. You're right. It is very small. It's one of the, well, let's say, smallest headsets I've tried so far. They become smaller, and that's great. It's great news. And there are only 2 HP refurbs out there. There is only one in Europe, and there's one in the US. So they don't really send them out yet. Developers might have them, but not press at the moment.
I also noticed,
will happen.
I also noticed one interesting thing in the video. There's like a connector cable just above your shoulder, and it looks a bit of an awkward place. Is this kind of a demo?
Prototype. It's a prototype. It's gonna be a full cable. Yeah, there were a few times where I was playing and this cable got loose, and then I was out of my experience. But that's not what they are going for.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a full. This was like a prototype, and it did really feel like that too.
And with the design, because it looks like the original Rift design, which is one of for me the most comfortable headset you can own right now. In terms of comfort, is it on par with Rift, or would you say it's better or worse? I know it's difficult with 5 minutes, but
yeah, it is very similar. Yes,
yeah, okay.
And I think the back, this circle thing they went for, this circle back is really good. It's really good. So yeah, I think it's fine. It's just very expensive. Let's say if you're a consumer, then there are like better options. I mean, the Samsung Odyssey just got sold for like $250 again.
Yeah.
And this one again is like 600-700. So
yeah,
it's more for B2B, but I think they will bring the price down. And yeah, no, it's a good headset.
It's funny because like a few weeks ago, I was dead set on buying this headset, and then the Index was announced, and I was like, yeah, screw this, I'm buying an Index alongside the 2 Oculus headsets.
Does any of this drag you back in the other direction, Mike, or are you pretty still set on Index?
I'm set on Index for sure.
You don't know anything about it yet.
So. Yeah, I'm still set on
true.
it. I trust in Gaben. Gaben we trust.
Hang on. We know that there is a module that can make you look like a Cylon. That's all that matters, right?
Exactly.
Did you guys see that? The plug-in USB module that does the LED thing? Yeah, Knight Rider is another example.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, like, I've been at a couple events these last few weeks, and everyone I talk to is constantly like, "Hey, did you hear about that? Index headset?" And so we were like, "Yeah, and they're gonna do this, and everyone kind of knows, right, what they're gonna do, although no one knows." It's like everyone has already their dream plan ready of what's gonna happen. It's crazy. But other stuff I tried at VRX was was the Sense glove. This is that. How can I say that? Or not? No, it's not the 6 ends. It's the actual. Now I forgot the name. I'm so sorry.
Are you talking about the blue one?
The Scissorhands, the Edward Scissorhands haptic feedback system.
Yeah. It's not Menace. It's something else.
No. It's like I wrote it down, but now here, Sense glove.
Sense glove.
Sorry guys, like I have been to so many places that I had to write this down because my life is going real fast at the moment. But
that looked super interesting because it kind of is almost like a mechanical structure that is like a bone structure that goes over your fingers. And I know Zim tweeted about it that he was really worried that this
before on the
thing might become sentient and then break all the bones in your fingers.
No, yeah, it's not that it becomes sentient. It's just that like there's going to be software code sometime in a cheap ass like knockoff version of this, and some kid's going to be like, "Yay, mommy, look, I can grab an apple!" And all of a sudden it goes, "It's not an apple. You're not grabbing anything. Actually, I'm going to invert your hand. It's just going to go and break all of little Timmy's fingers, and he's going to be there like with the fingers like slopping off of his wrist, and he's like, "Mommy, what did my VR headset do to me?"
You can just make like a mechanical construct so it doesn't like extend past like your fingers. Like it doesn't even need to be soft-formatic, but just like.
Yeah. But is that going to add to the price of the cheap knockoff version? They're probably not going to have the safety features in there, Rowdy. You know I'm right. For fact's sake, this is going to happen, and I am so sorry for the little Timmy who's going to have to do that. Can you imagine? Or you like Timmy. Put Grandma in for the first time. Look, Grandma, you can pet a cat. Don't you just love petting cats? And then all of a sudden, just like a Saw movie. Oh, there it goes.
Okay, wait. Put the tinfoil hat on before you start talking like that.
Yeah. I haven't seen these things happen at VRX, so it's a safe device as far as I know. But those are these Sense gloves are force feedback gloves, and they give you the ability to pretty much feel the shape of an object. So when you grab it, it kind of pulls you back, but you can still feel it. So when you squeeze a ball, it will really give you the feedback you're expecting it to have. And
so it like restricts your finger movement at a certain point to mimic the shape of objects. Yeah, that's a smart system.
How realistic did it feel? Like, was it convincing?
Yeah, but I mean, of course they can tweak it more, and of course they need to make it smaller because it's a big contraption. But they have been working on this for a while. This is I think the second or the third time I've seen them at an event. They are a Dutch company, but it's cool. It might not look pretty, but in VR, it does give you that feeling you're looking for.
With like. I'm wondering because with like touch, like you have a lot of like some of the sensory like receptors in like the tips of your fingers, but since it's not locking on the tip of your finger, right? No. It's locking on the finger itself. Yeah. So do you really get that feeling of touch because you're not actually touching anything with the tips of your fingers?
Well, kinda. It's like a part is just imagination because you're like, oh wait, you start to feel things? Well, in the end, you don't. You know what I mean?
Does it feel more like someone is like holding your finger back, or does it feel like you're actually holding something in your hands?
It was like a mix. Certain objects were kind of giving you that feeling of like, hey, I feel it, and then others were more. It's like it depended on what you were doing. Like I felt like some shapes, some objects were working better with this than others. Because like squeezing a ball is like something totally different than grabbing like a can or something like that.
But I think Rowdy makes a really interesting point that I'd never really considered as well. Like if you're not feeling something on your fingertips, then does it really feel like you're grabbing an object? And I think that's a solid point. That's why we've got you on the show, Rowdy, the scientist brain of yours.
It's so good to have our scientist back. I never actually sent it to you guys, but I asked Rowdy some like optics question. I got like 2 pages of Twitter messages back, and I almost posted that, but then I was like, I'll leave them off. But good to have you back, scientist Rowdy. Rowdy.
So what else did you try then, Nathie?
So this is actually the 6 ends. I was a bit confused, but the 6 ends is a training for people, and they make different like custom controllers for people. So David, he tried this training in where you had to paint a car door, and you actually had this I don't know what it's called. It's like this thing they use when they paint cars, right?
Like a spray gun.
Yeah, a spray gun. And they made it super realistic, like the same weight was inside this controller. It had the same shape, and they were tracking this too, with a funny device that was attached on the front of the Rift. In the video, you can see that he's like having some kind of like, I don't know, antenna on the Rift. But yeah, he was like painting the car door, and then at the end, and this was super duper cool. They had an iPad next to it, or like a tablet, and they could live just show him all the statistics of how well he painted this door. So they showed him like, oh, you missed this spot, or you did a little bit too much paint there, and this was connected with the actual VR game. So it was almost like a mixed reality view on this tablet with all that information. They could change the camera angles. They could show the statistics of how well he was doing, how long it took, stuff like that, like heat maps of where things went right, went wrong. Like extremely detailed. Yeah, you can see it on the video.
And this sounds super interesting for like, car manufacturers particularly have been investing heavily into VR.
It's a training thing that you can do up front to learn them how to do it. And you can do it as many times if you want and not really screw up in real life.
Exactly. And it must save them a fortune using VR for training in this way. But it's interesting that you said that the actual controller that they gave David weighed the same amount that a real life spray gun would. So you are really getting that one-to-one sort of experience.
The muscle memory as well building up in you. The one thing I saw similar to these gadgets that we're showing now that I thought was really interesting, and again for automotive application, was like a pair of, I'll stand up to illustrate what I'm talking about, but it was like a pair of bionic legs or something that would like attach to you. And the whole point of this thing was that you'd go along to spray paint your car and you'd just sit down and the thing would get rigid. So you'd have a seat. You saw that, what I was talking about? I'll see if I can find a video on it in a second. But I was like, VR room scale players can now play room scale and standing with this thing. So you're like, oh, now I'm driving a car. Nathie will remember this in LA Noire, where you had to go from scenes where you're running about to sitting driving a car. And I immediately was like, there's an answer. There's now an answer where you can actually sit in the middle of your room, drive the car or whatever. And then all of a sudden you get up and you're walking around again like a freaking robot. But
aren't you scared that all of a sudden while you're driving it will fold in on itself, making your legs go to the front of your face, breaking your back?
You guys make it like you guys are talking about all of this stuff like it's really gonna turn on you or something.
Yeah, but to describe what Zim's talking about, basically it was like one of these like pair of legs that you attach to like a belt or something, and they kick out when you go to sit down, so you can basically sit down at any point. But just regardless of VR, like that's going to be super useful in life in general. You just
going to a festival like that, like I'm sitting here.
But the funny thing is, you imagine you're at home, you're immersed in your VR experience, you're having a great time. The doorbell goes, it's the postman. You go to the door, you've got these like crazy like Edward Scissorhand gloves on, you've got your kick-out legs strapped to your waist, a headset on your forehead. You can look like something straight out of the future. It's gonna be hilarious.
That combination, though. I love it. You should like wear your trousers over that exoskeleton because then it looks like you're one of those magicians, right?
4 legs.
Bell bottoms coming back, boys.
Yes.
So to go back to VRX in Europe, like out of all the things you tried there, what would you say is like your the thing you was really impressed with the most?
I would say still the Magic Leap. Like I think AR has come already it's great. It's awesome. I still want a Magic Leap, but I'm not a developer, so there are other ways you can buy it too if you want. But
apparently my friends at Big Apple Buddy will be able to hook you up. With a Magic Leap.
Here,
if you trust them,
your friends, huh?
But going back to the HP Reverb, it's a fine headset. It's just that there are so many headsets right now that I'm kind of like, bring us some content, and I'm sure for businesses work together with HP is a good call. So, but it's weird to be at this industry focused event where there are, not only serious people, but a lot of investors and stuff like that. And I was surprised how many people recognized me. There was this one person like, I know you from something, but I just want to say hi. I'm like, okay.
He couldn't pinpoint where.
No, like they were like, you look familiar, but I don't know anymore. And there were also people asking me. They saw my videos from China. They were like, hey, you know what it's like to work together with companies in China, like investors asking me. There was one dude, I think this was the coolest dude of the entire event. He was worked for Factory 42. And before he worked for Factory 42, this is a development studio. They made the museum experience at the London, the Edinburgh thing. Hold the World.
Like the Natural History Museum?
They made that interactive game, and he worked for PlayStation VR when it was all new. He worked on the Heist.
Is this Dave Ranyard from Dream Reality Interactive? Yeah,
No.
I think it sounds like the same guy because he worked on the Heist and he works for the studio that made the David Attenborough thing. So it sounds like the same guy.
It might be the same guy.
Yeah. He also made Arca's Path.
I don't think so. No, he didn't. So I don't think we're talking about the same person here.
We are talking about soulmates, and we need each of you to post an online dating profile.
Yes.
And then you're going to get matched up at match.com.
Right.
Yeah, but it was just interesting to hear him talk about Project Morpheus, because PlayStation VR, before PlayStation VR was PlayStation VR, was called Project Morpheus. And he was telling me that when they made the Heist, they were testing this on people, and they had around like 100 people to test on every time. And then I realized, like, not every development studio has the luxury to have that many people to test your game on. Well, he said, like, we pulled so much data out of that to improve our, game in the end. So if you can really have that many people and get like a survey back, it's awesome. So he said, like, we had so many people. And then he talked about all these funny prototypes before PlayStation VR was a thing. Super next level. But they are working right now on a experience for the National Museum, in London. And they are going to make like this location-based experience with a Magic Leap. So people will be able to see dinosaurs and things like that. And they were working on that. So soon you will be able to try that. And the great part is the museum is free. You don't need to pay for it. So you can just go in and then give it a try.
Long queue, disappearing Magic Leaps.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Long queue and disappearing Magic Leaps.
Busy in that place, yeah. So
I'm going to go running.
But that was a little bit confusing story here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to kind of remember what I've been doing this week, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway.
It did make sense. It did make sense.
Great.
So let's round up the show then with our final topic, and that is Nintendo Labo VR. For those not familiar with Nintendo Labo, just to give you a brief overview, they're sort of cardboard kits which you build yourself into various different designs. They incorporate the Joy-Con Switch controllers and the Switch itself for unique and strange gameplay experiences. We discussed on a previous episode that there will be experiences coming that will be compatible with the VR goggles, which are these right here. And that is that Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild will be getting free updates on the 26th of April that will allow you to use these VR goggles with those games to experience unique experiences in VR, which is super cool. The basic kit, the basic Labo kit, comes with the VR goggles and the blaster, which is this beast here. It's absolutely ginormous.
Oh, that's actually smaller than I thought it was going to be.
It takes you about an hour and 20 minutes to build this thing, at least. We're using the instructions that are provided on the Switch, because you put in the little cartridge in the Switch and you run up the game, and then it gives you step-by-step instructions, which are really easy to follow, by the way. Anyone could follow them. So it's kind of aimed at like 7-year-olds and upwards. So if you've got a 7-year-old and you're interested in buying this for them, they won't have any problem with following the instructions. Super detailed. But the basic kit is like $40 US, about 35 British pounds. That includes, like I say, the VR goggles and the blaster. Then you've got these 2 expansion sets, which have a camera and an elephant. And the final expansion has the bird and the wind paddle. Both expansion sets cost $20 each, about $16.99 in British pounds. Yep. Or you can buy the complete whole Big Daddy package for $80 US or $69.99 in British pounds. Yep. But basically, like when we heard about this, we were all pretty skeptical because of the power of the Switch.
I was not skeptical.
No, I wasn't skeptical either.
I still am.
Okay.
I will stay skeptical.
2 of us were skeptical, 2 of us weren't.
Okay, sure.
Because, you need to know that the Switch runs at a resolution of 1280 by 720 at 60 frames per second maximum. And obviously with VR, you're splitting that in half, one for each eye. So we were like, what the heck is this going to look like in VR? But I'm happy to report, actually, that I was pleasantly surprised at how well it actually performed. I spent most of my day yesterday building these weird contraptions. I've only built like 4 of them so far out of the 6. It took me like 3 hours in total. But
you're not even 7.
I had a lot of fun actually building these things because, like I said, the instructions are super easy to follow. And it kind of reminded me of that Lego feeling, building something. And then once you've built it, you can then play with it, which is super fun. And the only real experiences that I've tried so far are the blaster one. But I have to say it's a lot of fun. Like, basically, you're on an on-rails kind of shooter where, you got the blaster up to your face. And the cool thing about this is that you have to cock it each time. So if I cock it and then shoot, it actually makes a noise and gives you vibration as well, because this thing is right on your face. So it's like having a super cheap Forcetube strapped to your face as you're trying these VR experiences. And you're shooting these little aliens in a complete 360 degree thing you can spin around if you've got a 360 chair, because the gyroscope of the Switch handles all the rotation, which works surprisingly well. And you've got like a few stages, and then you've got this epic boss fight with this huge king crab. And I have to say, like, it was just really, really cool. After a while, though, you're holding this thing up to your face, so there's no strap to hold it there. And I think it's designed purposely in that way because you get a bit tired after a little while and you're like, okay, I kind of had enough. So I think it's designed for like short 20-minute experiences, and then you kind of have a break and then maybe try something else. So overall, I would say the experience was good. Some of the downsides of it, though, are because it's limited to 60 hertz, you do get a lot of motion blur. So when you rotate, the image does definitely blur and smear around.
I did notice that too.
But for $40, if you already own a Switch, definitely recommend trying it out, especially if you've got kids. Like, if you're a hardcore VR enthusiast, then you're going to probably want to pass on this altogether. But particularly if you've got kids, 7-year-olds and upwards, and they are gamers and you've got a Switch already, $40 for what you're getting in this experience. There's a lot of content there other than just the games as well. There's lots of video content you can watch as well, including a throwback to the Virtual Boy, which is kind of interesting if you're into retro gaming. But also like the experience of building this with your kids and then learning about VR and how the lenses work and how that sort of splits the display in two, and then trying out the experiences as a family, I think would be a super cool experience.
I think that is the point of it. I think that is the point of the entire Labo VR kit, to have that like kind of engineering mindset of like kids. It's the same as like when we grew up, we had like Kinects and Lego and all those kind of things to like put together. And
But one question I had for you, Mike and Nathie, because you both are new to Labo, I think, and the thing that I found out of the whole Labo experience, aside from the cardboard being actually more robust than I was expecting it to be, because I think I mentioned to you before, storage space easily becomes an issue, which is like, I now have manufactured this thing, I need to go store that somewhere, and if you get the whole kit, I can't imagine where you're going to put all that stuff, because that's going to take a lot of space. But my question for you is the instructions, because I don't feel like in their ads and all that, they show you the kind of how well the instructions are actually portrayed by Nintendo. They're incredibly well animated, I found. And I'm talking about the earlier Labo kits. My wife and I basically said, we've only made a third of our current kit. Let's hold off until we finish this one, and then we can go buy the VR one. So I'm curious, did you find that the instructions were like quite good and almost part of the entertainment as well?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's very, very geniusly put together, because first of all, the moment they introduce you to the lenses that are very important, because that's how the magic happens, right? In VR, these lenses actually have a personality. They talk to you. It's like, hey, we are lenses. Who are you? It's like, you want to be friends? because we're gonna go on an adventure together. So it's like this manual is talking to you. It's like you're listening to a friend. It's like you're interacting with a friend, telling you like, hey, this is who I am. So these lenses are like, you know, when you put them inside this cardboard for the first time, this manual is like, hey, we are ready to go. So it's like, hey, I helped someone out, right? So it's very interactive. And the way this tutorial works is like you go from one step to the other, but it's talking to you in a way where it's like, it's just, you know, having fun with you. And not in a way where it's like kind of punishing you, like, okay, you need to do this now, you need to do that, and just listen and blah, blah, blah. No, it's like, hey, this is going to be great too. You got to try this, and this is going to make the experience even cooler. And we're going to make this nose piece. This is something you're going to put on your nose, and it's going to fit way better on your face. So it's constantly telling you things. It's also looping back to certain parts where it's like, hey, are you sure you did this? And did you fold this correctly? If not, just go back. And it's genius. It's very impressive. Very
absolutely.
Impressive.
And you can completely control it what speed you want to run it. So, you know, you've got a forward button and a back button, just like a fast forward or a rewind on your remote.
Yeah.
So if you missed a bit, you can just quickly rewind and it's fine. But like Nathie said, they do it in such a funny, interactive way. Like, you know, there's a piece of cardboard here. Oh, they kind of look like bunnies, like, you know, and then they incorporate that joke into like building that component, you know, and each bit has its own little personality. So it's super fun and interactive.
It's this manual has a storyline. That's what it has.
Because the reason I wanted to bring it up was because it is the thing that surprised me, joyously surprised me when I came across it, and I was like, they never talk about this, and I kind of assumed because it's a cardboard equipment that I'd get kind of like a paper manual, but it comes with its own basically game cartridge that slots into the Switch, and you play away. So like the only thing that I was kind of curious about your feedback on was, you know, now that you've done this. Right, looking at Labo from a kind of a wider perspective, is Labo something that, like now you're just still focused on the VR bit and you want to do all the VR pieces? Like, are you going to complete? My first question is, are you going to complete all the VR setups? Or I don't know, Mike, did you get the big kit or did you get the one with the blaster? How'd you do it?
Yeah, so I got the big kit. I've already built the blaster, the bird, the camera, and the VR goggles. I haven't built the elephant and the wind pedal yet, but I'm planning to do that tomorrow. I want to sort of do a little like overview video, maybe Monday, Tuesday next week, of me playing them all and the different experiences. But yeah, like I have to say, I'm more interested in this because, of course, it's VR related. Yeah. It doesn't sort of turn me on to the previous Labo stuff. But I would say that, you know, if you have kids out there and you want something really fun that's going to take up a lot of time and have a lot of value in it, you know, because like $40 for this starter kit, you know, that's at least, you know, 3 hours of building alone with your kids, and then you've got the experiences on top of that. So there's a lot of like value you're getting there for $40, and the fact that this might be the first time that many people try VR, and I think it's actually a really cool way to do it. It's a fun way, and you can only imagine that, you know, if you're spending $40 on some cardboard and this is the kind of experience that you can get with this, which is pretty cool. Just imagine what you could do with like a $400 to $600 headset, you know.
So is it a poison chalice? And then I've got a question for Rowdy.
Definitely not.
Definitely not a poison chalice. And Rowdy, do you want to see Nintendo go down the science route with this? Because there's so many toys and educational stuff out there to teach kids programming and stuff like that. This is obviously doing kind of that construction work. It's almost laying the kind of foundation for that. Should they move down the kind of science route next?
I think they're already doing that. I mean, they started off with the name Labo Kit. I mean, if there's anything that sounds science, it's Labo. That's the entire point of doing this. It's like kids love this kind of stuff because it's the same with like coding. You know, get kids to do coding early on. You have a ton of like these kind of games that you can make yourself by learning like the basics of coding. And this is exactly what Nintendo is doing with this. It's like the basics of engineering. How does this concept work? How do you get like those contraptions? How does virtual reality is one of those things that they know is going to be big in the future. So if kids want to get interested in it now, that's the point of this entire kit.
Yeah, it's an amazing way of introducing VR. I think this is one of the best introductions I've ever had It really is. Oh, here
Oh
comes.
my God! What just landed?
So I've got the bird here as well.
The bird butt. We're gonna see Mike put a bird.
This is
butt on his
absolutely
face.
where the
Oh,
audio
no.
listeners are losing out. He is
I can
flapping
feel-
this bird's butt into his face.
Yeah, you're
Listen to that
missing out
sound?
there if you're an audio listener. And then you've got like a camera, so you can kind of zoom in. And you can,
Oh,
can you hear that as well?
That click sounds
Satisfying.
amazing.
Oh,
So cool.
it's also
yeah.
strong too, like this cardboard stuff. At first, I was like building. I was like, guys, I don't know if this Switch is gonna stay in there. And then I was almost done. I was like, whoa, this is good. But there are a few things that are genius. I mean, everything about it is like art. But for example, the fact that you can, well, let me show you.
Yeah.
By the way,
This-
people in the
this is
chat
so
are laughing so
satisfying.
hard at the
Here.
bird's butt on Mike's face.
Here, watch this. Watch this.
Expect gifts later.
See
Mike.
this?
Yeah. So the
Isn't
way it
that-
splits the display is so satisfying.
But if you want to, you can, because you need a cartridge to play all of these games. So you could give this cartridge to someone else and share this VR experience and be like, hey, here's my cartridge, and buy one of the Labo kits and then try it out. You could do that. So it's a shareable thing here. Also, something that is cool is you can make your own games on it, right? But what I thought was super fun about that is that you get introduced to a development team, and it's like, hey, you're the fourth member of our development team, and we're gonna work together to make some games. There's actually a progression system in that, so you make these kids part of a development team, and it really feels like you're working with these people. And I think that's an interactive way of introducing kids to game development.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hot
This
damn,
is
lads!
the first time
I love it.
that kids can first of all try VR. Nintendo is jumping into a gap that hasn't been filled up yet.
Yep.
And second of all, how many kids can really, if you're 7 or 8 or 9, can understand Unity or Unreal or stuff like that? This is like the start of building your own experience, and then you can look at it.
Can you describe that a little bit more, Nathie? Because I think I heard about that. So is there like a game maker in there where you can customize existing experiences, or is it all building from scratch?
So
Pre-built assets.
Yeah, assets. So it's not like, building a code, but it's like you have assets, but you still have to create chain reactions. The Nintendo Labo kit, if you buy it and you open the box, it says make, play, and discover, as far as I know. So it's really about, doing all of that. And everything is in there. You can even watch 360 videos. You have the VR Garage with 64 games, and you can't just play them all straight away. No, you gotta finish them and do certain objectives to be able to play the next one. So you really get excited for like, hey, I wanna finish the next one. So I think this is going to be a big hit. The press so far has reacted very positive.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is going to explode. This is very good stuff. And resolution and stuff like that, who cares? This is great.
So the one thing I would say is that I would say it's probably not worth going out and getting a Switch 4. But if you own a Switch already, then without doubt, get it. If you don't own a Switch already, I think there's other things that you could probably put that money towards that would be a better VR experience. But overall, for kids and having that family bonding experience, learning about VR together, I think it's incredible.
But is it not a good excuse to get a Switch? Because a Switch is a fantastic console as it is. This is just another reason why you should buy a Switch.
So if you're in it for the VR alone, I would say no.
No,
If you're a general gamer and you love particularly indie games, like the Switch is like the indie darling console of all time.
Or the other Labo kits.
All the other Labo kits, or Mario and Zelda, then yeah, for sure.
That was my question actually. So when it comes to Zelda and Mario, like, do you have access to that stuff already? It's not unlocked yet, or
it's a free.
I think it's 25th of April.
Exactly, yeah. So around that sort of time, it'll be a free update to those games, and you can utilize it for those.
But that is the main reason why I stay skeptical, because I don't think it's made for that kind of stuff. I don't think that is like. I think the attraction is I think you hit the nail on the hat with your description of with your little review you did now, Mike. I think the main attraction indeed is in the building and the experience and the games that are on there with the Labo kit as well.
Exactly. What Nathie's showing right now is like a little 360 video that is included in there. It's like a little Easter egg that you can see what it's like to use a Virtual Boy. So if you never got the opportunity to try one, then you can kind of get a sense of what that looked like, back in the day with those retro graphics. So
it was so high def, wasn't it?
There is just so much content on there, that you could really, it could keep you going in little bite-sized chunks for a long time. And especially if you buy it piecemeal, you buy the basic kit, and then if your kids have been good or well behaved, you can reward them with like a expansion kit, which is like $20, £16. So it's sort of an affordable sort of like a nice little reward if you've done well at school or whatever. So I think it's great for families. Of course, the VR enthusiasts are always going to be like, well, this isn't for me, but I get that.
Of course, it isn't for them either.
It's not designed for them in mind.
Question about the IPD, because I was wondering, like,
IPD.
Is there an adjustment or
no adjustment? And because I've got a small IPD anyway, which is probably kid-sized, it works fine for me. But I don't know the exact sort of sweet spot. They didn't give you that information, but it's only made for bite-sized experiences anyway, so it's not like you're going to be in it long enough to really sort of notice the effects of having an incompatible IPD calibration. But yeah, we've gone on for quite a while, almost 2 hours now, so we'll start sort of rounding up the show. If you've got any questions for us, put them in the chat now while I just give you a quick reminder of the show times. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Also, check out the audio version on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor. If you haven't joined us live on a video version of the show, I would really recommend it. You get a lot out of it. You get to see our lovely faces, and obviously we show a lot of stuff to the camera as well. And it's also great to interact with other people that are in the chat, because there's always a conversation going on there. So it's great to get involved in that as well. So if you've got any questions, now's a great time.
Actually, the chat is asking if you could repeat the show times, but do it with the bird's butt on your face while you're running the camera.
I'll put the bird's butt on my face, but I won't say it again, just for the audio listeners' sake.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things is, if you were in the last 2 to 3 weeks, as we were having some issues with a desync, I think we've managed to clear that up through some technology changes. So thank you for dealing with that. We're always trying to improve the show and go through experimentation. And the thing is, in the end of the day, we're going to find out the best solution and then bring that to you. I think we're there now. I think we're at a good place. So maybe less experiments for a couple of weeks, but we'll keep pushing. I had one question from before the podcast from our super fan Meggles that I wanted to ask each of you, and she was asking me, because she's planning to go on a trip with the Oculus Go. What happens if you try to get a VR headset through security? Do you have to take it out of your bag? Blah, 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 blah. So we're all seasoned travelers with headsets sometimes in our luggage. So I'm curious what your guys' responses are, and then I'll share mine at the end.
So
I've never taken a virtual reality headset through an airport. I do have a funny story about the last time I went through an airport. I had like one of those bike locks. Like a bike lock that you have, just a regular bike lock. They took it out and they thought it were handcuffs, and they took me aside. Like, no joke, there's no joke. Like, they almost arrested me on the spot there, thinking I was like trying to I don't know what they were thinking. But I had to explain about bike locks, and they called in 3 more security guards, and I had to explain, I had to show it to them. I had a bike lock board. But they were convinced they were handcuffs.
That's funny. I also never took a headset with me, but I also have a funny story. Like last time when I went to PAX, my whole suitcase is full of equipment. So I have my camera in there, my microphone, all kinds of crazy technological stuff. So you see this guy, behind his computer, and he's confused. He's like, what the heck is in this thing? And there was one time when I was in China, I had to open my suitcase. This guy's like, what is in these shoes? Like, those are Nike Mags. He's like, what is Nike? What is that? What is a Nike Mag? It's like, I turned on the lights. I was like, oh, okay. You can sometimes, because I have these shoes with lights in there, or electric shoes that self-lace there. Sometimes what kind of stuff do you put in your shoes? It's,
looks a bit dodgy. Yeah. So Mike,
There is again. I've never taken a headset with me, but Tyriel Wood actually did bring a Samsung Odyssey with him to PAX for us to play around with in the hotel room. Playing VR always. And he got stopped by security, and they asked him like, "What the heck is this thing?" And then he said like, "Oh, it's a virtual reality headset," and they were like, "What is that?" And then you have to go through that whole rigmarole of trying to explain to someone what VR is. So that was kind of
now still not even heard of the term.
But it's so true. No, it's so true. Even at PAX, I'd say 9 out of 10 of the people who I stopped and asked, like, had not actually. They're like, I know what VR is, but I haven't tried it. I'm always meaning to play it. And there are literally people I grabbed
not
and
even
like
knowing what it is.
Yeah, not even knowing what it is.
It's possible. I mean, if you're in that, but yeah, I do travel with my Oculus Go pretty much every time I'm flying because it's lovely. So what I said to Megals was, out of the last 6 flights I've taken, only once was this have to come out of my bag. They don't treat it like a laptop or a large tablet or anything like that. So generally, it goes through security, no problem. So if you are a little bit reticent, you're like, am I going to pull aside? No, I generally have not found that on busy city flights, on busy international flights. It generally doesn't have to come out. So the only thing you have to watch out for is, as I've heard from friends who travel with or Go as well, sometimes people on the plane wanting to play it as well. Like, can I try that? So that's the only thing to watch out for. Did we have anything else from chat? Well, we were all.
Suzanne says the history of the future book about the story of Oculus tells more about Palmer Luckey getting pulled aside at an airport. With the DK1 prototype.
Oh, yeah, that's true actually.
And they were like, "What is this?"
Wires hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was duct taped together, so it looked quite kind of dodgy. Amazing book, by the way. If you haven't read it already, definitely well worth a read.
The only other thing that I wanted to mention, if you don't have any other questions, just for any other fellow racers out there, we got a racing thing going on. I organize this every fortnight, and so there's an Assetto Corsa meetup happening tomorrow, 8:15 UK time. You can DM me if you're interested for the details. So if you're into Assetto Corsa.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys have all enjoyed this show. Sorry it's sort of gone on a bit longer than usual, but we had so much juicy stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sweating.
We'll be back next week, of course, at the usual time. So have a great week in VR, and we'll see you then. So bye-bye. Oh,
slam a like on this live stream. Let's us know you care. Be nice.
Bye-bye.
Always
there we
YouTubers.
Go.
Sorry.
Bye.
I had to do it. I'm sorry. Bye.